Hi guys, and welcome to my domain. So, oh my god, you guys, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what I've gotten myself into at this point. I really did not expect to be making another video on this topic. I just did not expect to be making another video on this topic. And there's a lot that we need to cover today. Alright, a lot that we need to cover today. So, I have a feeling this might actually be longer than even my last video, so I apologize for that. But I, for one, am a rambler, and I talk on for a very long time, so I hope y'all bear with me on that. But also, I just want to make sure that I'm giving this situation the seriousness that it is, because now that I've been privy to this information, I feel like it's my duty to put it out there and for people to know that Kodomodachi is not going to stop being in contact with this minor and some other information that I feel like should be known to the public at this point. So, first of all, what I do want to say is that I appreciate Spetty. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name, but what I was waiting for with this whole controversy was for someone to actually make a video on this topic, so that I don't want to necessarily say so not all attention would be on me, but for some reasons, and I don't want necessarily to be going into anything legal with this. I mean, obviously, who does? If it came to that point, I feel like I would have support, and I probably could get the means to definitely go against someone like this for what she has been doing. And I know there's been a few other people, but there really hasn't been anyone like huge, bigger than me covering this. And so I just felt very alone in this situation. And my parents were also very much like, Jordan, don't be making another video on this. You don't get too far into it. So really another reason is because my parents were very just afraid for me, and rightfully so. They're my parents. So they're just scared that I'm going to get myself into a situation and then it's just going to get worse from there. And so my dad was like, look, you should wait for another bigger content creator to make a video on this, so that way the spotlight's not fully on you, and that way you can talk about the situation knowing that you're going to have support behind what you're saying. And it's not just like you talking, the only one talking. Someone else can actually confirm at least a bit of what you're saying. And I was like, that's a very reasonable thing to say. So now that there has been a content creator to do this, I feel obligated to share this. It's been eating me up inside, okay, honestly, with this stuff. And I'm sorry I'm rambling on, but I feel like I need to cover all my ground. So if you want to skip ahead, I'll have timestamps. But I also first and foremost want to point out that before we get into the group conversations that we were having, right? Everything in there, I have been kind of researching the legality of it, because obviously this is, something that should be private on Discord, DMs, direct messages. But the more I was looking into it, the more I found that, hey, whatever you put out on the internet, really and truly, bottom line, it can go out. And you should expect that whatever you write can go out, right? I consent to giving this knowledge out, and I've also have the consent of someone else who is named Orange Fanta. They said yes, put this out there, and they were in this conversation as well. I'll get into more of why they were. They're not in the wrong at all. We'll get into that conversation here in a minute. And I also have the consent of one of my other friends who is in this conversation as well, and they also, of course, give that consent as well. So I do have consent from multiple parties besides mine. But even beyond that, stuff like this is not considered a call, obviously. The legality of it is more or less writing. And writing, you should expect any form of writing that you put out on the internet to be able to spread basically easier than like a call, because a call can be like, I guess you could say, mistaken for some purposes, because you might just say something in the heat of a moment. And so calls are a little bit more protected, something that's vocal based. But writing in legal formats is something that you've written with intent, so you kind of have an understanding of what you're going to be talking about there. So that's what I've been looking up for all of the legal stuff. And obviously as well, the information that I'm going to be sharing with y'all It's troubling, to say the least, and the reason why I'm sharing this is not to defame Kodomodachi. I want to make that perfectly clear. I am not trying to harm Kodomodachi. I do not want to send harm their way. I do not want to do anything that could harm Kodomodachi, okay? Because I know that is also against the law. And I'm not trying to defame or anything else. This is just information that she has decided to say. And I feel like it is my duty to make sure that people know what is going on, because there's a lot going on here, right? So that's kind of like all the little technical things out of the way of the situation. As you can tell, I'm a little uncomfortable covering this. All right, I'm going to be very perfectly honest with y'all. But again, I felt like it was necessary to say with all this. So let's go ahead and just start from the beginning, shall we? So when I say beginning, I do not mean like where I started off, because if y'all wanted to go check out my previous video, and I kind of hate to shout out my own channel, but I would prefer that y'all go check that one out, because there's a lot more content that I covered initially with all the crap that was flying around in the beginning of the Kodomodachi experience. But now we're going to be talking more or less about the last community post that she made, because this post came after the fact that I made this video. So this was something that I obviously wasn't able to talk about because it came after the fact. So if y'all don't know, essentially what Kodo did was, now she's put out the minor's, name out there, which is, first of all, no, you don't do that. So I'm just trying to be very, I don't know if I want to say impartial, because there's really no, there's no, saying that you're going to pick the side of Kodomodachi. I don't think many people are going to be saying that, and I'm definitely not going to be saying that. So I don't want to be trying to say, oh, well, they did something right, so let's give them a pass. No, we're not giving anybody a pass. Once you say that you've been dating a minor, that's just, no, you can't make that mistake. But what I am trying to say is, I'm trying to not just become off fully abrasive as an individual that could just strongly say whatever he wanted to, because if I did, I would have a lot more words to be saying. But anyways, with that said, the YouTube community post, what she said is, hello again, everyone. I had a proper rest, even though it was short, and I realized how much I need to get off of YouTube to become human and remember who I am, so thank you. However, this guilt is excessive. I, as a Brazilian who is still learning English, figured out yesterday what grooming means, and I feel rather disgusted and uncomfortable. Pedophilia is a law and a disorder. This disorder, it would affect my life to an extreme. If I had it, I wouldn't be here. I would have been stuck with a therapist instead. Okay. What I did was a mistake, and you guys are just repeating yourselves like a broken record. If you all were to be parents, your kids would already be depressed over a mistake. Please don't do that to anyone, no matter how strong the guilt must be, because we all did something wrong in our life, and it would be hypocrisy to blame others but not yourself. Kodo, that paragraph alone is that paragraph alone is freaking enough to, give Carson a run for his money. Sorry, I know I shouldn't be joking, but it's, I need to joke about some things, it just makes things a little bit easier. But anyways, okay, first of all, as an adult, no matter where you are, I feel like the idea of what grooming is, maybe it's not necessarily out there, but you should know the general concept of talking to a minor as an adult. You obviously have a certain responsibility when you're talking with a kid. Here, some people have pointed out in my own comments, saying, I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing for kids to be talking with adults. And that's not what I'm trying to say here. I mean, I'm not saying don't be friendly to kids. I mean, you don't have to yeet them across, the room because you don't want to be talking with them. I'm not saying that at all, which I know some of y'all are probably like, yes, eat the child. But no, don't eat the child, okay? What I'm saying is, in this situation, you cannot say that you were dating a minor and then be like, oh, y'all are just being excessive about this. What are y'all talking about? No. And the fact that you were trying to bring parents in this, that your kids would be stressed or depressed, I think you're making the situation worse for the kid to become depressed, because now they're in the thick of the situation, and this is not something they need to be, exposed to. All right. And as a parent, if I found out regardless of sex, that my child was dating someone who is older, you don't think I would be pissed? I would take immediate action. And we'll get into, parents here eventually. But anyways, let me go ahead and continue, because I could rant on this part all day. But anyways, so even though all this chaos happened without sexual proof, I am here standing to explain what happened. I'm not going to be putting the minor's name in question, because even though I know it's out there, I don't want him to be bombarded with comments. I don't want him to be in this situation anymore. I really don't. So I'm going to ask that even if y'all do know the minor's name, full name, real name, obviously is worse. But if y'all know the Discord name, the YouTube name, and all that, don't go after them. Please do not go after them. Only show support. They're a young, impressionable person. And we'll get into more of why Kodo thinks that's the worst thing I could say. But anyways, the minor in question and I, we're pretty good friends. And we messed up badly by thinking we could do that. We didn't think of outside consequences. That was very naive of me. Our so-called relationship didn't last even a week. Therefore, there was no way I could corrupt a pure child like him in such a short span of time. Kodo, that just disgusts me right there. The way you say that is like, oh, well, look, longevity means that I would have more of a chance to corrupt them, but at least, I was with them for a very short amount of time, so there's no way I could possibly corrupt a child. No, that's not how it works. That is not how it works, Miss Kodo. You can easily corrupt a child and do things to them in that short span of time. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm not accusing you of anything. But that sentence alone right there is false. Okay? There's no way you can be talking about that. We used to give pets hugs, some supports, and arguments about sudden sadness, play games with friends, or stream drawings before and after this relationship. In the end, we just confused being a brother and sister with this. And again, this is just so weird to bring that up. And we will be seeing more of this, and y'all will see. So yeah, thank you guys for giving some sense to our minds, but that was too excessive. Accusing of grooming and pedophilia without proof is a serious crime, if I say so myself. So we are all to take blame, and at the same time not. Me, the minor in question, my friends, we are still together surviving the psychological chaos, and I will rise up to that, because nobody will tell me who I really am. Only myself can tell that. Girl, no. Just no. Okay? No, you are not going through the same psychological chaos that the minor in question is going through. Okay, because they're probably going through it way worse. They don't have the mental fortitude. Like, you know what? I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, this minor in question, maybe they're more mature and stuff like that. That does not matter. Okay? That does not matter. And I don't know why people keep bringing that up. I don't care about their supposed mental fortitude that they have, or mental, capacity is higher than the average bear or kid in this sense. They do not have the maturity to be dealing with this, all right? And we can also get into the sense of there's a power dynamic here, okay? But we'll get into that more a little bit later. So as I know, I just wanted to read this for context and background information of what was going on. I did go off. I would say what I was trying to do in the comments, because I'm sure some people are like, okay, you kind of went easy on her. And I did. And that's because I wanted some information out of her as well. I wanted to see, like, why are you still doing this? Why? First of all, you are the adult. You're digging yourself deeper into this hole, and you need to get off the internet. You need to stop having contact with the minor in question, right? And so Kodo tells me, I'm sorry, but you won't tell us who we are, and the internet won't stop my dreams. Your dreams of continuing to have, like, this relationship with the minor? I mean, I know you've said you broke that off, but you clearly are still in contact with them. What dreams are you talking about, Kodo? She might be talking about her coming back to YouTube, but again, we'll get into that more later. And I was basically telling her, look, I'm telling you this for your own good. Once this breaks out on the internet, you will not like the consequences. And I was right. Look what happened. Now someone bigger than me has covered this, and now that information is basically, I wouldn't say viral, but it's definitely out. Like, all the Friday Night Funkin' community can easily find that, and no one's happy about it. Like, there's a very small percentage who are genuinely trying to defend you, Kodo, but most of the people here, they're not for it. They're not having this, right? So when I told her this, she basically said, I know about that. I know the consequences, but if people don't like it, they can leave. In the end, I will continue doing the art I love. And again, she seemed to be missing the point I was trying to make. Kodo, I'm not talking about your art at all. When did I ever talk about your art? I may have told you to get off the internet, but that was because you're still in contact with the minor in question, Kodo. I had there was nothing even mentioned about your art. Your art is completely irrelevant to this conversation, actually. And then after I told her, you need to stop having contact with the minor. Like, period. They don't need to be in the spotlight anymore. They're 13. They don't deserve the bombardment of comments that are coming their way. And her response was excuse me, to abandon such friendship we have? No, he's more stronger than you think, and he won't let people tell who he is, and we're here for him, and he will see how the world is right now. If he needs to mature, the time is now. Hold on. Humanity these years have always found an effing loophole of chaos. The internet is no different. Okay, yeah, blame humanity. That's such a generic concept. Who would have thought about blaming humanity for your own problems? Wow, what a concept. Anyways, I really want to talk about if he needs to be mature, the time is now. No, he does not need to be mature. He is a child. Okay? And a child does not need to be mature in the situation. They need to be just playing games. They need to be doing schoolwork. They need to be doing their own life. They don't need to be in the situation, Kodo. They don't need to mature. They need to be out of the situation. Okay? Kodo, for the love of God, this is what I've been telling you. And then afterwards, I mean, I basically said that. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. His psyche is going to get ruined by this. And in fact, I have reason to believe that his psyche is even worse off than what we originally talked about. So there's a lot of information to cover here, and this is only the foundation. I'm going to be over here making a freaking documentary, and this is not, again, something I'm very proud of or happy to do, but I feel like I need to get all the information out there. So sit tight, people, because we got quite a bit to talk about, all right? And I'm going to be going, I guess you could say, in order of chronological data that I have here. Because there's some things I could be talking about that kind of happen, I guess you could say someone talked about an event that happened beforehand, but that's just going to be too much for me to try and cover. So what I'm going to be basically doing is, by the information that I found out, I'm going to be talking about that information in chronological order. So I'll be talking about the group chat because that first came through some YouTube comments that came my way on my last video, because some of those are actually very important to this conversation at hand. I'm going to be talking about a little bit about the Brightside creator, because while I'm not going to be trying to get into that situation because that's a whole nother situation, it is actually very important to this conversation, and you'll see why. And then I'll also be talking about another individual who was kind of in this situation, but I'm going to be briefly bringing them up because they were also a part of this whole conversation. So actually, if we're going in chronological order, I actually do want to talk about, like, first of all, how I even got into this, because some of y'all are probably like, what the hell? Like, how did you get in contact with, Kodo in the first place? Because she probably want nothing to do with you. And you're all kind of right, basically. But the way I got into this, and I'm not gonna bring up the person who got me into this conversation, because they're also a minor in themselves, and this is actually kind of like the worst. I don't want to say like the worst part is, but it's one of the worst parts of this situation that I found out. And to know that Kodo has other minors in this whole mix of things and has, them backing her up, that just makes the situation feel way worse. But anyways, what this minor was doing is I didn't know they were a minor before this, But this is where Jordan got kind of too far into the deep end. So someone messaged me on the YouTube community post, and again, I'm not going to be talking about who they are or showing them. And if y'all do find out, please do not message them. Please do not send them hate. Please do not. They're young. They don't need to be bombarded. They don't need to be, you know, going through this just as much as the other minor in question we're talking about. Okay, just be kind. Please don't go after the kids. All right, I'm asking y'all wholeheartily, do not message these kids, because I actually did not know that this was a kid until later. So in any case, what happened was this person, an individual, messaged me, and they were like, hey, listen, I got information to show that Kodo's actually innocent, and you know, they're a kid, they obviously want to defend their friend. And I was like, okay, well, I went ahead and added them. And so they sent me information my way, and they actually sent me DM screenshots of the minor in question and Kodo. And just to kind of, because the whole point of this thing too, I think, like, if you wanted to summarize these videos, it's keep the children safe, right? So I'm going to be blurring out the conversations that involves any of the minors that we're talking about here, okay? Because I know some of you are gonna be like, well, how do I know? No, I have mods and I have other people who can confirm what I am talking about here, because they actually have hard copies of these well, not all of these conversations, but the full group conversation, so they know the minor in question is in there. And so the reason why I shared them is because I didn't feel comfortable being the only person knowledgeable about this, and so I very much trust them to not leak that information out, and I trust them to make sure that, hey, if something comes up, they can definitely back me up on this. And so they definitely can confirm that the people who are in this conversation, one of them does involve the minor in question that Kodo is still talking about today. So when I was talking about this other individual who is also a minor, they were basically telling me that, you know, here's some proof. This is proof that Kodo is actually innocent. So the first DM that I get is between the minor in question that Kodo has been talking about and Kodo. And Kodo is basically saying, well, the minor asks them, like, hey, how are you feeling? You know, obviously they want to check on their friend because they feel bad. And, you know, Kodo's like, I'm feeling great. And Kodo's like, if you want to speak to me, you can. And you can, again, tell they're not backing away from this conversation at all with the minor. So they're still in contact with them. And Kodo does tell them, go seek your parents' care. Agreed. They don't need to be talking to you, Kodo. This kid does not need to be talking to you. They need to be talking to their parents and to a psychologist. But again, we'll get into that more later. And then the second screenshot that I got was them going on about that. And, you know, it's about the minor talking about some family things about his sister. You know, obviously, he's probably going through some things too. And regardless, you know, Kodo's still out there. And she's like, well, you know, you need to tell her that you love her and this and that. Good information if it wasn't coming from someone who dated a minor, right? So I would normally say, hey, you know, that's not a bad idea. And then she also talks about, like, telling your parents that I want the best for you, and tell them that I said you are a bright child. Tell them that they are taking good care of you. Okay, hold up. Kodo, that's where we're getting a little bit sus. Why do you feel the need to tell the parents that? Like, why? You don't need... If you genuinely... You know, let me put it this way. If you genuinely felt like this conversation was okay, why do you feel the need to bring the parents into this, first of all? I don't like the fact that you're like, tell them that what I'm saying is, you know, you're good, this is all good, this is fine. Kodo, that just sounds manipulative in the end. And I'm not trying to say that maybe you were manipulative, but given the context, Kodo, come on now. What else are we supposed to expect here? So anyways, I get a few more screenshots, and I'll be going over a few more of these, but I also do want to point out, I'm not going to go over every single screenshot that I got, because there's quite a few that I got. So I'm just going to be going over, like, the ones that really show important messages. And she also did talk about how she felt confused with her parents and, you know, trying to basically relate with Kodo, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, just more stuff that, essentially they felt, I'm assuming, could relate to the minor. And again, you know, at the basic level, are these conversations bad? No. But again, given the context of what has happened, given the context that you said you dated them, and that you were confused about the relationship you have with them, and that you're still in contact with them, that's weird, Kodo. That's just weird to talk about. And they go on for basically this whole conversation for a while, and then we actually get into the minor who invited me to this. And again, I didn't know they were a minor at this point. But the minor who invited me with this is talking with Kodo and is actually trying to get things straightened so that they can defend them. And that kind of hurts my heart a little bit, because you know that they're just out here because they feel like they're defending a friend. They feel like that they're defending a friend. Kodo, you need to stop getting minors involved in your situation. Defend yourself. Stop bringing minors into this. Okay, stop bringing minors into this. And so, and Kodo says that he feels, and this is about the minor in question that they've been talking to, that's their team. She says, he feels okay, man, and I feel okay. We're just siblings now, and I would never try being a bad example to this guy. Again, the siblings thing is just so weird. And I'm not saying that under normal circumstances is that not necessarily weird, but again, given the context, that's just weird. And this is where we start getting into the situation of Kodo's not letting go of this minor, because then she says, yeah, if he ever needs to talk to someone other than his parents, I will tell, but when there's a moment he can't avoid them, I will get him to speak with them, even if it's bad. So basically what she's saying is, I'll be there for him if he feels like he can talk to his parents. Okay, Kodo, you don't need to be that kind of, like, you don't need to be doing that. If they have genuine problems, I'm sure they have friends of their own that they feel like they can talk to. And again, it's not bad for you to talk with a minor and let them confide, but I'm gonna keep saying this, the context matters. Okay, so, and she also says, dude, I was literally the one to make him tell his parents about me because it was needed. Okay, but what have we told the parents, right? This is the thing that keeps, like, bothering me, because this was another thing that people were trying to also mention in her YouTube community post comments, and even some of my comments in the previous video. And it was that, like, hey, the parents are, like, accepting of this. Why are you going against the parents? Okay, do we know that 100% sure, right? Do we know the parents know? No. Have they made an official statement about this? No. I don't see an official statement made by the minor in question's parents. Do y'all? So what we know is that the minor in question could be saying, yeah, my parents are cool with it, because we know that if, you know, that wasn't said, that this would make the situation look way worse if you were hiding this from your parents. Kodo, we don't know this situation. We don't know that for sure. Okay, there's no definitive proof. Regardless if you're trying to use that as proof. So I don't know how to feel about that, Kodo. I don't know how to feel about that. And even if this was true, what have you told the parents? Like, did you outright tell them, hey, by the way, I was dating your son who's 13 years old and I'm 18? Most parents would not see that as like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm sure that's fine. I don't think most parents would see that as fine. Okay, so I don't think that they know the full information like that, Kodo. Anyways, I digress. But that's just like, you know, I don't like that. And Kodo also mentions about how they have no power to do anything now because everything I show is not going to be believed. Kodo, you've been kind of dramatic on this whole situation, girl. So I don't know why you feel like people would, you know, have reason to believe you now when you were being very cryptic about this in the beginning and even spreading some lies, which we'll get into a little bit later. So there's not really like a point to be made here for people to necessarily believe you. Now there's other screenshots, but I'm not going to show them because they're between the two minors here, and I feel like it's just not necessary. But just know that in the end, the minor in question was like, Um, basically saying that they felt like Kodo was nice and they forgive them. They didn't even meant to try touching me. We never talked about any sexual topics, which actually might kind of be a bit of a lie there when to find out, but we'll get into that. And so, you know, again, they're just defending their friend. They feel like they're defending their friend till the end. They don't understand the concept of what's going on here. So anyways, I'm sure many of y'all are probably like, you need to get to the group DMs. This is like, let's talk about what's going on there. Let's finally talk about what is going on in group DMs. And I swear it's time now. I apologize for kind of delaying that, but I felt like this needed to be talked about first because this was between me and the other minor, which, by the way, let me point out really quick. I had a sneaky suspicion that this person was a minor, so I did confirm it. And they did tell me their age, and they are around the same age as the other minor in question. So I had a feeling. I just had a very gut feeling. And so what I basically have been telling a minor is that, look, you need to be careful putting yourself in the mix of this, and you're not in any trouble. I'm just putting that out clear as day. You're not in trouble, and I want the best for you and the other minor in question. And that's basically all the conversations I really had for them. They were wondering, like, so what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't even know. And they were basically like, well, you know, don't get him in trouble or don't get her in trouble. And I was like, whatever I do, I have y'all's best interests at heart. And I want them to know that. So anyways, let's officially get into the group conversation, shall we? So after this kind of all goes down between me and this other minor that I didn't know was a minor until I did ask, and then I found out and I was like, oh crap, okay. Then I'm not going to be talking to you, obviously, like I would be talking with Kodo or something like that. Now, I did not ask to be put into a group conversation whatsoever with Kodo. I was like, I do not want to be talking with Kodo necessarily because I know that they're just going to spew very biased information at me. But what ended up happening is the other minor who I was talking to through the DMs, I was going to end it there and just let them know, like, hey, we have your best interest at heart. They add me into a conversation with Kodo, the minor in question, themselves, and another figure named Zoey. Now, there's also another person in question here named Zoey. Zoey has been in this drama as well as some other pieces of drama mixed with all this. And I do want to note that I'm going to be, I'm going to not show their profile picture because I still feel a little bit weird. I mean, this is not necessarily about Zoey. Zoey has a part to play in this, but this is not about Zoey. This is about Kodo and what she has been doing. But in any case, I get put into this conversation, and it's 5 of us in here for now. And so I'm like, wow, this, like I said earlier, what have I gotten myself into? So what the minor who was talking to me about this and put me into this group conversation, they're basically like, look, I want to talk about this situation before it spreads like wildfire. And everybody knows what they're here for, essentially. And it's kind of crazy, all right? And for your own safety, and I'm talking, if you're watching this video, for your own safety, the reason why I'm talking about this is because this shows that Kodo still is in contact with the minor that they supposedly dated, and they're also in contact with you. So I don't know what they've been telling you, and, I don't know what's going on there, but I want you to know that whatever happens, you're not in trouble, okay? And so this is just like a whole crazy understanding of what is going on. There's like a whole thing, and what Kodo basically says is that I understand Red's point in leaving. I'm not sure if she is talking about me. And so I don't know if she's necessarily talking about me. I think she might be, but she says in this message, I understand Red's point in leaving, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up. I'm just going to let my channel there and see what happens, because you know what? The only subscribers that will follow me up are the people who believe in and change. So I'll just let that. And basically what they're saying is, I'm going to leave my channel up. I'm going to leave everything up because I feel like that anybody who stays genuinely believes I'm going to be changing. Okay. I'm not going to get into the morality, and I feel like I've been saying this a lot because there's obviously, I obviously have my own opinions, okay? But I don't want to get into, you know, off a tangent that's not necessarily important to the conversation. But what we'll be saying is that regardless of what you think of change, the damage that has been done already, Kodo, and you, let me put it this way, Kodo, you have the means of kind of re-identifying yourself, okay? You do have the means of doing that, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily the best thing because we don't know if you can, you know, make another account or something, get popular once again with your animations, and then go back to doing what you're doing, right? That's not what I'm suggesting here. But what I'm saying is that we already know what's been going on your main account, so I'm not sure why you would be keeping that, just from a pragmatic sense. But anyways, I was actually able to bear witness to YouTube, or to Kodo actually privating all her videos. See, a lot of people have been thinking, oh, Kodo's deleted her videos. No, she has not. If you look right here, she says, I can make everything private, so yes, channel lockdown, who agrees? Zoey says that they believe it's for the best. So, yes, Kodo ended up locking down all of her content, right? All of her videos. And she was, it was kind of crazy to witness this because I was watching this go down and I was like, oh crap, she really did, you know, she really did private everything. So for everybody who's saying that Kodo has deleted her channel, she has not. She's just privated all her videos and has tried to move away, as we've seen from her Ace Attorney profile picture and background. We can see that she's trying to move away from the Friday Night Funkin' community, right? But this is not the case. She's not going anywhere, all right? I can tell you she is not going anywhere. All she is doing right now is to do some damage control, I guess you could say, and private everything. So that way when the things kind of simmer down, and we'll be seeing this here in a minute, when things simmer down, she is going to come back. Okay, now, I kind of feel bad for the miner who brought me into this conversation because they feel like that they're at a risk here. They don't want to be bombarded by hate comments. And this is why I am telling y'all, please, even if y'all find out like how I got this information or who the miner is that I'm talking to, please do not send them hate comments. Do not send them any comments. They do not deserve to be in this at all. The only reason I'm showing like bits and pieces of their conversation is so y'all can understand that Kodo still is in conversation with other miners, and that they don't feel comfortable with all this. Okay, and again, that's why I'm not showing y'all their profile picture. That's why I'm not showing you their name. So, and Kodo basically says, well, if you need to go against me, you know. If it's for the best to keep you safe, that's what you need to do. And I'm like, oh wow. I mean, I think it's right. I think that's the right move. Like, honestly, if you are watching the person that brought me into this group conversation, you do not need to be defending Kodo any longer. Please go on your own way. Please just worry about your own life. You do not need to be in the mix of this conversation, please. And so I actually kind of found this funny because I was typing something out and Kodo said, Knight, whatever you're going to say, please don't let it be bullcrap. I'm sorry, that kind of had me dead. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, oh, they know I don't. They know that obviously I'm not on their side. So Kodo was like, you better not be typing anything that's gonna go against me. I'm sorry, but that just kind of had me dead. But anyways, serious topic. But I just found that very interesting. So what I told them was that, hey, we need to, I'm trying because I'm basically in the mix of this big echo chamber, right? So, and I know that I could say like whatever I wanted to, like I could easily just go off on Kodo and be like, hey, you've done this, like how could you? I felt like if I did that, I would be taken out of the group chat immediately and I would not be able to get more of the information out to let y'all know that, you know, Kodo's still in contact with this miner. And so I very carefully worded my phrases. And so what I basically told her was that All I have to say is that you please keep these minors safe. You and I are both adults. You and I can handle criticism. They don't deserve the comments they are receiving. It might be in the best interest in order to protect them that you distance yourself from them and go your own way. Wouldn't you agree? So I'm trying to... I don't know how to put this. I'm trying to get Kodo to essentially side with what I'm trying to say. And this is very weird for me to talk with them. Like, very weird. Like, don't think that I'm trying to be all like, oh, besties with them. I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm just trying to get more information out of them, and I'm trying to see like where they're kind of going with their mentality at this point. Because if they're not going to be, you know, letting go of this minor, then I have reason to believe that they're going to continue to be, you know, in contact with this minor and with other minors as well. So, anyways, what I will say is that a lot, and they go on for talking about like Zoey's situation. There's some information here, and I will get into this into a YouTube community post that she brought up. So one thing that kind of pissed me off though about this is like, okay, I told Kodo this in the YouTube community post that again, the minor in question that you were apparently dating does not need to be brought into this anymore. And this is where Kodo keeps just messing up. Alright, this is where you really feel like, I feel like just, it just makes me pissed. Because Kodo, once again, tries to bring the minor in question in this conversation. And it's like, we need your opinion on this. I mean, I know things are different, but there are times you need to take action by yourself. No. No, they do not. No, they do not. And Zoey even says, he's in class. Like, legit. How, after Zoey said that, like, how can you not be like, oh wow, you know, wow, they're in class, maybe, you know, they're doing schoolwork, maybe they need to be doing that instead of trying to be in this little drama. But no, you keep trying to bring them back. Kodo, that's exactly what you keep doing wrong. Stop bringing them into this conversation. So anyways, Kodo's like, if you ever feel something is wrong, like I said several times to you, you have all the right to say so. You're almost 14. Your parents must have taught you what's right and wrong. And you have a sister to take care of. I'm like, okay, first of all, how is that last part relevant to conversation? But second of all, okay, they probably do know the basics of right and wrong. I'm not trying to say that they're a brain dead child, Kodo, but they feel like that they are, you know, defending a friend. They feel like that they're defending you because they feel like that's the necessary thing for them to do at this point, right? So, why on earth would they be going against you? Why on earth do you feel like they're going against him? You're just kind of manipulating him to basically be like, well, you know, you need to take action by yourself. You're kind of like shifting the conversation to them a little bit. And I'm like, dude, no. Stop bringing them into this conversation. Let them live. Let them live. Let them live their own life. Let them be a child. Stop bringing them into this conversation. That's what really pisses me off. But anyways, so of course, you know, now that the minor in question is here, I even say the minor doesn't need to be in this situation further. I don't want them to get hated on. So that's something, you know, I was putting out. And then Kodo's like, dude, they're not being hated on. In fact, people just think the minor in question is a brainless child, which in my opinion, that's a worse offense I could ever get if I was him. I think the worst offense that you could ever get was potentially dating an adult and then the adult not taking responsibility for said actions and for them to continually be in a conversation with said minor and say things like, you need to take action for yourself. They need to mature. Anyways, Kodo. Okay, and another thing is too, people talked about how they were talking about like how this and how the minor in question also complied to the relationship. Okay, no, a minor cannot comply to a relationship. Let me make that perfectly clear. A minor cannot consent to be in a relationship, especially with an adult. Okay, now, you know, we might have all been younger at this point, being 13. We might have been in a relationship, but that was usually with someone our age. All right, but like I can guarantee you, most of us who've been 13 and was in a relationship with someone else who's around our age, I can guarantee you that that relationship was not necessarily serious, right? But when you get into a relationship when you're 18 and older, that can be very serious, right? So you're mixing two different maturity levels here. They're not compatible. They can't, a minor cannot consent or comply to a relationship. Let me make that perfectly clear. But anyways, and Kodo's like, no, man, you won't believe how many times I said if he's uncomfortable with, he can just leave because I really did nothing wrong. Kodo, again, you're not taking responsibility here, girl. And then they also go off about, like, that it was destiny that they're no longer dating the minor, that I'm glad that I'm not dating him anymore. I basically, like, I feel free. And this is the part that messed me up. Because Kodo then says, bruh, I was literally the kid in the entire relationship. I can't even. Kodo. And then she also says, we just confuse feelings. Kodo, no. You cannot say that. You cannot say that you were the kid in a relationship. And so I ask her, what do you mean by that? And then she says, what I meant is that he was a bold guy, really. And Zoey actually comments that she had a childlike mentality. And I'm like, okay, well, it may be the case, but that does not excuse the actions of an adult, regardless of where their mentality is, especially dating a child. Like, I don't care if you... This is like the freaking troll thing of the Clover gender, right? Where, you know, you identify as a kid because you feel like a kid at heart. No, let's not keep that same energy. Okay, that was a troll post from 4chan. Let's not keep that same energy. Okay, let's not say I felt like I was a kid, so I can justify my actions. No, Kodo, that is not how it works. And even if she did have like this childlike mentality, no, she's still 18. I don't care, you know, what was going on there. In fact, if that is the case, Kodo definitely needs to be off the internet if she has this childlike mentality. Okay? Because she needs to be booted off if this is the mentality she's going to be bringing to the internet. But anyways, what I also want to say is that we will be bringing this next part up where she says he was a bold guy. We'll be bringing that up more into light here eventually. But anyways, this is kind of weird because what I found out is that the reason that the minor in question even got into contact with Kodo was because he just wanted her to do a Garcello remaster, which, if y'all don't know, that is another mod, right? And so the minor in question was like, hey, can you do this for me? And this next part just... Okay, I'm just gonna read this next part. He just wanted to see me do a Garcello remaster, which sadly is impossible anymore. And he said he would reward me with a hug. He was gonna support me in the remaster. That paragraph alone, that's a lot to unpackage there, okay? Because when we look at that, you're basically saying that I don't know if you're like RPing for a hug or if you meant a physical hug. And this is why I actually asked her, so does that mean y'all are going to be meeting up in the future sometime? She said, actually, no. Well, I don't know. Look, Red. Like, now she's getting a little pissed at me because she knows I'm interrogating her a little bit at this point. I'm like, does that mean y'all were planning to meet up? Like, what do you mean by that? And so Zoe's like, well, they just mean like an RP hug. And even at that, that's just still like weird. That's weird. Okay, that's weird for you to first be saying that you're in a relationship and then you want to give, and then you're allowing the minor in question to say they'll give you a hug. Like, okay, this is where we bring up the bold part, because Kodo was like, oh, well, he was bold for enough to say that. Okay, well, you should have been bold enough to say no, because you're the adult. Whatever the kid says, you say no. You just say no, Kodo. Like, is that so hard? I really want to shout, but I'm trying to keep my voice under control. But anyways, Kodo, you just say no to stuff like that. If a minor tells you, oh, can I send you like nudes or something like that, like it's just extreme. I'm not saying that this is to happen in this situation. Or if they say, can I give you a kiss? Can I do this? You say no. Just flat out no. Regardless of the situation. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's not right. Right? So, this is actually where the Orange Fanta comes into play too. They haven't said anything, but this is where they got added into the conversation by the other minor that I was talking to at first. So yeah, this is where they can see the conversation. They've given me consent to talk about this. And so this was just a crazy thing to find out. And so they go on about like some other, things about like, oh, this is why I locked down my YouTube, but I won't delete it. Right there for everybody who thinks that they're going to delete it. No, there's still people believing, and I'll let time wash away those who don't want anything to do with me anymore. So as you can tell, they haven't changed, like really and truly. Like, they may not be dating quote unquote the minor anymore, but they've learned nothing. They've really not got any repercussions from this because they want to plan to come back. And so it gets a little bit more interesting too, because the minor who actually invited me here is actually starting to question Kodo's motives, and they're like, you need some explaining to do, because now this minor is actually finding out like what Kodo said about, like, let me tell you that dating a 13-year-old is legal, and if you don't do sexual stuff, and the minor was even like, you need some explaining to do. And Kodo responded to them by saying, yeah, it was a thing about Google. Bruh, I wrote that on emotion. Sorry, I had to ease my mind. That was very irresponsible of me to say. No freaking kidding. And I like that. It was Google's fault. This was Google's fault. It was them. That's such a scapegoat. And Kodo says that they feel ashamed about that, and the minor is actually showing them like all these different screenshots, which I thought was kind of funny, because they were like, hey, what is this about? Like I don't even feel comfortable with this. And Kodo was like, yeah, that part is where I was confusing my feelings. And now the minor's like, okay, now I'm confused. And then Kodo was like, yep, you get me now. I was confused as hell and didn't even realize. And I was like, wait. Again, you can't be confused about how you feel about a minor. That's just not a thing that you feel confused about, okay? And so I thought this was very, very interesting to bring up, because they're talking about this. And then the minor's like, well, you know what? Google really effed up, huh? And I was like, oh my god, no. Because what they're bringing up is the fact that, like, hey, because Google told me that the legal age of consent, I guess, particularly in Brazil, was 14, and then there might be this closing age gap, which actually I was researching, and apparently there's not an official, like, there's Romeo and Juliet laws in United States, but there's not one in Brazil. I just want to point that out. I found that information. And so what Kodo said was, as I said, I was feeling very freaking naive. And honestly, even the relationship came on, all I wanted to be was a good example to the dude. And I still can be, and I'll be strong for that. And I deal with autistic brothers. This may seem off topic, and I was like, what the hell? Because if y'all don't know, in the YouTube community post, Kodo also brought this point up. And I was like, okay, so are you saying that autistic people are similar to kids? And I'm not like that, again, like they said, off topic, but I was just like, okay, interesting. You're two for O, Kodo, because now you're bringing kids in this and people with autism, and my brother has autism too. So what? So because my brother has autism, it makes it okay for me to go date minors? Is that what you're saying? Okay, apparently that gives you a free pass or something like that. Shoot. But anyways, at this point, Kodo's now basically blaming Google for this whole thing. She's saying like, oh, this was Google's fault. They basically like lied to me, and I was like, bro, you cannot say stuff like that. And this is where Zoey actually starts making sense, because they basically are like saying, like, you can still help a minor and not be in a relationship with them. Like, I think like that's come on now. Like, I think that's easy for anybody to grasp. And Zoey said, I mean, you can still help someone without being in a relationship with them. And I was like, thank you, Zoey. You're actually being a bit of a voice of a reason here at this point now. Thank you. And Zoey's been on the fence about this. Let me make that clear. Zoey's been on the fence about this like situation, because they were good friends with Kodo. They even dated at one point. And so I can understand where they're like, like this, but still, I'm at least glad that they're making sure that, hey, you can still help someone without being in a relationship. Totally right. I fully agree with that. And then this is the part that also messes me up, because Kodo then says he actually confesses to me. Like, she's talking about that the minor confessed to him that he had feelings for her. And I was like, wait a minute. Then she goes on about saying, but at least you know that wasn't biased, I guess. After he said that he felt, I just felt like I was being a total responsible person. And Jesus, it was a mistake. But yeah, all I can say is I'm not perfect. Neither he is. I'm learning. Again, you keep diverting like this onto him. You keep shifting the blame to him, Kodo. Stop doing that. Stop saying, well, he's not, I'm not perfect, but neither is he. No, you don't bring him into the conversation. You're not supposed to bring him into the conversation. You can't keep saying crap like that. And then she was going on about how she was being a responsible person in this whole thing. And I was like, okay, so then why even accept that relationship in the first place? Right? And Zoey's like, the real responsible thing would have been to not still be his side as a friend. Why is that like a big concept in this? Like, why is that like I feel like I'm doing mind games here. Like, is that like such an unreasonable thing to think? Yeah, you could have been someone's friend without being in a relationship with them, especially a minor. Like, anyways, the whole basically what Kodo wanted to do with this group chat was to prove that they were not, doing some weird stuff. And this is where I was like, okay, interesting. Because this is the interesting part. Zoey mentions Force and Kodo didn't do anything sexual. And I believe that. You know what? I actually genuinely believe that to an extent. I still don't know what they might have been doing behind closed doors. I don't know what's going on fully in the DMs. But given this situation, given the context, I don't have reason to believe that they did anything sexual. But then Zoey brings up a very interesting point. And if they did, it was probably jokes. And I was like, wait. Jokes? What do you mean by that? And Kodo's like, what? Who the F would joke about that? And I was like, what? And then Zoey was basically saying that people were making some weird jokes. And so I said, I like jokes because I mean, I guess I want to interject and be a little bit like funny to bring humor into this. I mean, I should have been more serious, but I was also trying to see like, hey, what kind of jokes were being brought up here? And so I said, what kind of jokes? I need a good laugh. And so because I wanted to see like, okay, sexual jokes, what is going on here? And so I was like trying to figure out stuff. And Zoey says, oh, you and Kodo go into private call to have sex, that kind of jokes. And I was like, wait. Hold up. Regardless of what's going on here, that's something you don't joke about with a minor. Like that's just something you don't joke about with a minor, period, right? And I'm like, okay, that's not funny. Kodo even says, but it isn't funny when it's with him. And I was like, okay. But anyways, and Zoey says, and well, for how young he is, he shouldn't be too involved with that, even if it's just jokes, right? Period. You do not bring up jokes like that with minors. Like, this is what I've been talking to people about in my streams too. I want to say adult jokes, but when I know that there's kids around, it's harder for me to say. Now, I will still, say them when I'm with, like, when I know I have, like, more of an older audience, like my mods or something like that, and I want to joke around with them because, I'm an adult. I can make those jokes. It's not, again, there's no law against making jokes like that. But when there's minors around, it feels uncomfortable. Like, no matter what, even if I was joking about the game and I wasn't even talking about the minor, right? If I was just joking about the game, I'm like, ooh, it's still weird for me to fully say stuff like that around minors, right? But you're out here talking about having sexual jokes with the minor in question. And so I actually we'll get into that a little bit more. And then this is the weird part. This is the weird part because then Zoey talks about how basically the minor in question was making jokes with Kodo and that say stuff like, and you'd be like, ooh, going to have sex with Kodo and stuff like that. And then Kodo comes in and is like, it's okay if you feel ashamed of telling, the situation is serious anyway. And I'm like, okay, wait. Let's not turn this around on the minor question. And the minor question was like, no, seriously, I don't remember. And I'm like, okay, wait. Did the minor in question actually make these jokes, or Kodo, did you make those jokes? Like, I'm not implying, or I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, it's interesting that the minor in question saying that they don't remember making those jokes, and that you're also like, well, if you want to admit them, you can, but it's okay if you don't want to. Like, that's just very sus. All right, very, very sus. And so this is, and then it's like I said, I'm getting deeper and deeper down into the rabbit hole, and then coming to find out that the minor in question has something potentially wrong with him. And now, okay, I'm gonna, for full disclosure, this could have been like a weird RP thing going on. Like, I'm gonna be honest, this part of the conversation is where it started to get weird, because now I don't know if this was serious or if they were getting into like an RP kind of scenario, because the minor in question states that they feel dizzy, right? And then I'm like, wait, what's going on there? Why do they feel dizzy? Maybe they just need to, sit down or something. And then Kodo says it's nothing related to the situation, something psychologically related to his story. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? What? So apparently, just from this conversation alone, from what I've figured out, apparently the minor in question is going through some psychological issues. And I'm like, wait. So you mean to tell me, again, I don't know if this is just RP, like, I don't know if the minor in question really does have psychological issues. That's not something I can confirm nor deny. But just from this, and Kodo was admitting that, yes, they do have psychological issues. Kodo was like, yes, in all honesty, you don't want to know so much. It's a bit scary. I'm like, wait. Okay, so what you're telling me is what we're dealing with right now is a minor who has some psychological issues potentially. Just keep adding layers upon layers of credibility for you, Kodo. Keep adding those layers, I freaking guess. And so what Kodo is basically saying is they almost want to be like his therapist, because she's like, I tried to be strong to see what was going on. I'm trying to dive into the storm of his past to see what I can find in there, because he can't seem to remember. So apparently he has maybe like this memory issue going on. Again, I don't know how true this is. It feels a little bit RP like, but like that's just still something, like, as an adult Kodo, if he genuinely did not have that, that's not something you would say, unless if you felt some other type of way. Like if you did not have a reason to believe that, you probably wouldn't be saying that. But you have a reason to obviously believe that this minor has some psychological issues, okay? And Kodo even says that even if it's psychologically damaging for himself, he needs to find that light out of the tunnel. Kodo, we do not need to be psychologically damaging children, okay? You do not need to be his therapist. And so this is why I even say, like, oh, so has they gone through something traumatic? And Kodo's like, I don't know, I have no idea. And Zoey's like, well, none of us know. And I'm like, okay, it's weird. They talk about like that he's going through phases apparently, and that he's like going through basically some crap. And Kodo's like, I managed to get him out of, or she states that I managed to get him out of his phases like a few times now. And it's totally unrelated to this incident. And I'm like, whoa, this is like getting really weird. This is actually getting really weird. And I'm like, okay, don't you think if that is the case, they need to see an actual psychologist? And Kodo's like, I know, that's a good idea though. I'm like, oh my god, Kodo, if this kid is genuinely having problems, like you're saying that they are, Kodo, you do not need to be, you definitely do not need to be in contact with them anymore. Like, for you to admit that you dated them, and then for you to also admit that you know that they might have potential psychological issues, Kodo, do you hear how bad that sounds? And I'm not trying to spin the story. Like, I am just reading y'all this stuff, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to piece two and two together that this is just weird. Okay, this is just weird overall. So they go back and forth talking about like these phases that he's apparently going through. They don't fully, I guess, know what's going on. And then this is the very sus part, because this is where the creator of Brightside comes in. Okay, and if y'all don't know, the creator of Brightside actually went through this like controversial thing himself, right, about potential pedophilia. Now, I don't want to get too far into the Brightside drama. I am so sorry, there's a plane passing by, as I'm sure y'all been hearing multiple times. Now, I'm not going to get into the Brightside drama because that's a lot of drama to get into, okay? And that might need its whole story for itself, right? So, I'm just going to be putting up a YouTube community post on here, and I want to thank Anthony, by the way, for bringing this to light, because I didn't know that Ceramic Studios still had a YouTube channel. So thank you, Anthony, for actually pointing this out. I'm just going to be popping that up there. Y'all can judge it. Y'all can go to his community post and judge it for yourself. But essentially, he was in this thing of like RPing with people, right? And he was still young. He was a minor at the time that he was RPing with another minor. And the minor in question was, and the minor in that scenario was also kind of uncomfortable with the situation, and they were very uncomfortable with him when he turned 18, reasonably so, because at that point you probably should have cut, contact with him. But what I will say is, I'm not gonna be the judge in that situation. Do I feel like it's worse than the Kodomodachi situation? Again, I don't want to be the judge of that, but what I will say is that I do know, at the very least, that with the Brightside minor, he was doing this RP when he was a minor with the other minor in question. So, say what you want, but at least from what my understanding, it doesn't sound as bad, just because they were both minors, and I don't know if he was still continuing at 18. It kind of sounds like he was, and at that point, you really should have been cutting it off. But anyways, that's not for me to judge right now. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because they actually get brought up into this conversation. Kodo says that they feel bad, even though he changed, right? He just admitted to past pedophilia, and I'm like, wait, whoa. So this is where it just gets weird, like, because Kodo basically said that he was a pedophile, right? And I'm not even trying to say that because I didn't even know the full story. I was like, wait, how do you know this? And so Kodo was like, well, they just admitted to it, and like, basically basically what I asked, and I just asked, like, any belief he can change then? Like, let me put it this way, guys. If someone is a pedophile, they're probably not going to change. Okay, I don't know how far therapy goes, but I think therapy can only keep so much under contained. Like, I think you'll still always have that attraction. Like, attraction does not go away, regardless. That's something you can potentially manage. That's something that you can get psychological help for. But I always feel weird when people are like, well, at least they admitted to like something they did before, so now it's okay. No, Kodo, because what Kodo's now basically trying to do is like say like, oh, well, he admitted it, so, and he isn't getting that much trouble. Like, kind of like, why am I getting that trouble? And so I'm like, and you believe he can change then? And Kodo's like, Red, it's an effing pass. And now she's going off on me. Like, I just asked simply, and you believe he can change. And Kodo's like, you gonna judge? You gonna just judge by past? Are you the one? Are you the one to judge he changed? No, only himself. And he breaks the trust. Yes, I can say he didn't change. And so I'm like, whoa, I'm just asking for your personal opinion, not trying to cause anything, because I want to see, Kodo, what do you think about the situation again? And again, I didn't know about the situation entirely overall, so I didn't even know what Ceramic Studios did, right? So I'm just asking them. And this is the part that got me, because Kodo says, but as I said, I trust them since they had the guts to tell their past. But if they break that trust, then I can tell myself he didn't change. So, I didn't even accuse Ceramic Studios of past pedophilia, right? But Kodo outright explicitly said that that's what he admitted to, right? And so Kodo says, at least he had the guts to admit it. And I'm like, Kodo, it doesn't, I mean, I guess in a sense it's good that he made it, because at least now we know that someone can be a sicko. And again, I'm not even saying that for certain studios. I'm just saying anybody that would admit to past pedophilia, right? But yeah, Kodo's like, you know, at least they had the guts to do it. Okay, that's besides the point. Like, no, it's not something that we should be praising someone for. We should be like, no, that's still gross. Like, oh, okay, you admitted it. That's good for us to know now. But now you need to go, you know? And again, I don't think this is the situation with Ceramic Studios, but it's like, Kodo, no, because you know what you're doing. You know what you're trying to, like, sway the conversation to, because at least that you admitted that you dated a minor, now it's okay, right? That's exactly what you're doing. I know where you're trying to go with that. And so they go on more of a tangents about stuff. The minor in question kind of feels like that they're being like watched or something like that. And they say it has anything to do with the drama. And I feel bad for them because they just don't need to be in this. I feel like if they really do have psychological issues, they definitely don't need to be in this conversation at all. And this is the other part too. Zoey says we need time to heal ourselves than healing others. We've broken ourselves so much focusing on what we don't have control on. And then Kodo says, by your logic, Force is already broken before the incident and before this relationship. So he is trying to heal from something totally unrelated. So what's happening now, it's not adding up to his mental state because he already has a problem inside him that was there for a long time before this happened. It's like a filled wardrobe. You can't put anything anymore in it. And it just blocks off. So he's on his own world, on his own psychologically. And I'm like, okay, so what you're admitting there again, Kodo, is that you knew that this kid had some psychological issues, right? And you still went out and tried to date him, regardless of your confused feelings. Kodo. Dang. So, more or less, I believe that's kind of like getting to the end of like really what was going on at this point. Kodo says, Night, I hope I have enlightened you about the situation. Oh, you definitely have enlightened me about it. And I really hope you don't see me as people see me now, because all I did was a stupid mistake and now everyone's acting like it's something brutal. So, that's the end of that bigger conversation, but there's still a little bit more, and I'm going to talk about this briefly. The minor actually adds in one of my other friends because they want to also make sure that they're a witness to this conversation. They can definitely testify if needed. And so basically my friend at that point is like talking to them, and they're actually talking with the other minor. And so what the minor says is that they first met Kodo on YouTube when they felt depressed. After we got some talk, he helped me and we became friends. That after knowing this trouble going, I realized it should be stopped. Not only this can destroy him mentally, but it can also affecting his friendship. That's why I try to defend him. And that's why I felt bad for this minor, because they felt depressed, right? And they felt like they needed a friend. And so they went to Kodo. Now, obviously, you know, minors will go up to YouTubers because they feel like they look up to YouTubers, and they were like, can you help me with my problem? What I will say is, again, if you need to tell them, look, I cannot help you in that regard. I'm so sorry. Like, you can be a listening ear, but you got to tell them in the end, you need to talk with your parents about this, and you need to go get psychological help from an actual psychologist. That is not something I unfortunately can help you with, and that's not something I feel comfortable talking with you as well, because I have a power dynamic over you. Regardless of whatever you think, a YouTuber does have a power dynamic over people, right? Kodo, with this big following, and also the fact that they could make this Garcello remastered mod for the minor in question, you had power over him, Kodo. You had immense amount of power over them. So obviously at this point, we know that this power dynamic kind of cancels out any kind of like bylaws that talk about like this 5-year difference gap or whatever, because power dynamics are strictly against anything, you know, relationship wise. So there's already that, right? And the minor who invited me also talks about how like they know that Kodo has a lot of YouTube friends, and that they're not too sure like what the age is for the general friend, but like just essentially they know that Kodo has a lot of these YouTube friends. The minor even says, I won't lie to you, really most of them are from YouTube. And this is the last bit I want to talk about in this group conversation, because this is what just kind of the nail in the coffin, right? Kodo states, I'm a woman, by the way. I really have no interest in minors, but this case with the minor question really had a meaning to me. But we stupidly confuse feelings. You know what? I would confess to you, before I ever had a relationship with everyone, there was this kid that was like 13 or 14. He kept following me, saying he loved me. I felt uncomfortable. I tried to explain many times I don't feel anything towards them. They understand now. They are Brazilian just like me, and his name is... They provide the name, and I'm like, gee, good job, good call in there, Kodo. And they provide proof of this conversation, and they're actually talking to someone else about this, and they're basically saying like, oh, I'm not comfortable with it. They're like, this is after the fact that they were with the other minor in question. So now they're kind of like, oh, well, I was like, ooh, no, I don't want that. And something interesting that Kodo brings up is that I was with the minor in question for a different reason, but this, no. And I'm like, okay, at this point, Kodo, I just feel like you're trying to get away from this conversation because you feel like you got in trouble. Would you have actually dated this other minor if you weren't in trouble? I don't know. So again, this is just weird. All right, this is just weird. At least Kodo said no. I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I guess that's a step for not saying that with another minor. But then this is the nail in the coffin, because we've been telling Kodo to stop having, any conversations or any form of contact with the minor in question. And then she states, if you are wondering how the minor in question me are, yesterday we laughed at Roblox memes, and we made a challenge that if he laughed, he lost, and I lost the bet. You're still in contact with the minor, Kodo. You are still in contact with the minor. Please, for the love of God, just stop. We are asking you to please stop. Because you're only gonna ruin this child's psychological, psyche further if you continue on this. Alright, and I feel bad, because I know that the minor in question really does see you as a friend, Kodo. I know they really do. And that's what really pains me about this whole thing, because I know that even after you leave, they're gonna still be, either way, they're still gonna be a little bit messed up from this situation. But if you continue this prolonged exposure of yourself to them, it's just gonna get worse. The older they grow up, the more they're gonna realize, like, hey, this was not a good thing for me to be in. This was not a situation that was, healthy for me to be in. So at least they can grow from that now and learn from what's happened now, if they get away from you. But the more that they continue to be with you, the more that this situation's just gonna get worse. So really quick, I want to go over what Zoey stated in her community post, because I feel like this is also a little bit important to the conversation. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, because again, I don't know the whole situation of the Zoey drama that went under. That's a whole nother topic, and I don't have time to be getting into that. But again, she knows Kodo personally, so she talks about how she's been having clashing, different opinions about this, about what's going on. She speaks about her situation, so if y'all want to go find out more about this, it's all on her channel. She's addressed that. And so she later on talks about that some news came out about her relationship with the minor, or about Kodo's relationship with the minor. And so they even admit that, hey, maybe it was legally okay, which it actually isn't, because now we've talked about the power dynamic, and even Brazil doesn't have that 5-year thing like we do in the US. But morally and, ethically, it was wrong. And so I'm glad that they can see it to that extent. But they do, I do know that they do feel a little bit more biased, because they're like, okay, I don't really know where to go with that. So again, I don't want y'all to be sending any hate against Zoey or something like that. I feel like the situation with Zoey is a little bit different. I can't speak on this. I really can't. But from what my understanding is, Zoey's not really like, I think they're trying to move their self away from Kodo at this point. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel very mixed about what Zoey is saying in this post, because I still feel like that they're saying like, oh, well, the minor question was still, naive as well. And I mean, it's true, but they still, Kodo was still in the wrong regardless. Like, the minor was not in the wrong. Let's make that perfectly clear, So all I'm going to say is that, again, don't send any hate towards Zoey, but I thought that was important to bring up just for like the context of the situation and what's going on there too. And there's also a few more comments that I want to touch upon, so let me go ahead and touch upon those as well. There was quite a few people in the comments, and I know some of them were from Argentina, I think, or from Argentina, I think some were even Brazil, and most of them were like, hey, we don't accept that, we don't tolerate that even here, like what Kodo did was wrong. So let me make that also clear, like, even from their standpoint and culture, people have been actively like, hey, no, we don't agree with this. But what I want to bring up really quick was actually a post from a moderator from Kodo's old Discord. And their name was Celev, and because they posted this publicly, I feel like that they would be okay with this. And Celev stated that it all started with a ping from an admin who showed off that Kodo was going to date a 13-year-old all the time. I won't name names, but essentially this did not float well with the server. Kodo was disappointed to see this and began to take action. As soon as everyone was told of Kodo's antics, Kodo's ex Zoey, who had supposedly done similar things, was brought back into the server, and the admin was immediately banned. I was helpless in this situation and decided it would be better to try to not let the server collapse in a chaotic mess and try to calm everyone. Zoey and Kodo made a voice chat, and while I was not there for a majority of it, quite a few members filled me in. Essentially, Kodo banned the admin who spoke out for emotionally manipulating them, and brought Zoey back while downplaying the previous situation. Not only that, but Kodo also kicked people out of the server who spoke out against them or called them that. Once again, I was mostly helpless and just tried to calm everyone down before realizing that my own traumas were starting to flare up and I needed to back out. The server became split into a chaotic mess. On one hand, people tried to give Kodo forgiveness for the mistake, while others were understandably pissed off. I myself was extremely appalled, but kept my opinion neutral for the sake of moderating purposes. The chaos kept going as Kodo began to defend their relationship with the minor in question. It was awful. People immediately saw that Kodo was downplaying the situation as well as the fact that they were rushing relationships, moving from one to Zoey, then Zoey to the minor, and tried to tell Kodo to either take a break or tell them that they were in the wrong. Kodo got frustrated with the huge amount of dramas that was sparked and deleted the server, but not before saying they were disappointing all of us. I did speak to a few moderators afterwards in DMs, but didn't continue due to conflicting viewpoints. There's a bit more, but I don't think I'm permitted to say as much. So, as I can see, this was from a moderator, and this is a situation that's been going on for quite a while, unfortunately. And I appreciate you very much bringing this to light to me. Like, I was actually very like, wow, I did not know about any of this, and it was like crazy. It was crazy to find this out. Someone by the name of Sleeper's Night actually came up to me in my comments and said that in one of the deleted community posts that they screenshotted, Kodo says something along the lines of, my close friend is crying about the situation and blaming themselves for it. And I feel bad because we know that this is the minor that in question that they're talking about. So obviously the minor in question is not in a good mental state. They're not dealing with this the best, as Kodo tries to make us believe. And what I will say really quick about this is there's more comments in my thing, but I feel like this is probably a good stopping point. So let me just get out a few disclaimers. The comments that I just read too, I don't have any other reason to not believe them about the screenshot, about the Celev being a moderator for Kodo's past Discord server. But what I will say is that, of course, take everything with a grain of salt. I am not here to say something is true without having 100% fact or belief to think it's true. Everything I've pretty much showed y'all today, unless if it was explicitly stated by Kodo or by someone else, I cannot confirm nor deny. Everything is alleged here, and everything else can be kind of based on opinion. So again, I just want to put that out there, that everything, we're just going off of what we know and from what's been given to us. You know, again, I can't say that everything is 100% fact. Take it for what you will. Take it for your own opinion. Like I said, there's more to this story, I'm sure, but dang, this is probably where I need to end, because I've been going on for a while. I hope that y'all have a better understanding of why I wanted to make this video. The reason, again, I was very hesitant about making this video was not because I felt weird about defending the minor, because I will never feel bad about defending kids and for defending people who might also especially have, you know, mental issues or psychological issues potentially. But I just felt weird that no one else was necessarily covering this, so I'm glad someone else stepped up, and now I don't feel so alone in this as well. And you know, my parents were also like, be careful, we don't want you to get in trouble, and I totally understand. You know, they didn't want me to bring this up, and then they didn't want me to get, you know, harassed or potentially like legal stuff coming towards me, but I felt I'm just obligated at this point. There's so much that went on that I know about. I can't keep this a secret any longer. Kodo, I've been telling you this, that you should have got off the internet when you had the chance, and that's not being a threat. That's not a threat at all from me. What I was telling you is that the internet was not going to take kindly to you, and now there's a way bigger YouTuber out there that covered this than me, and that video's, you know, getting a lot of views. So people know about the situation. Kodo, there's no way that you're going to be able to come back from this. Alright, it's best that you get off the internet. Alright? And I've told you this, Kodo. I've told you this. And this was me being nice to you. But now at this point, I can tell that you have... I have no reason to... no other reason to believe that you're going to be backing down from this situation. I have no reason to believe that what you did in the past was wrong, and I have no reason to believe that you are still not in contact with that minor and potentially under other minors as well. And I do want to put a disclaimer that I don't think you did anything sexually with them, right? I don't have any evidence pointing towards that. I do have some weird jokes that you should have not made. I don't have any solid evidence that you did anything sexual. So I'm not going to be out here saying, you know, making up things and making this a even worse situation. I want to present what I do know, and, you know, my opinion based off of what I do know. So again, I don't want to put that out there. I'm not saying you ever did that, okay? I want to make that perfectly clear that I believe that you haven't. But what I do know is I feel like that you manipulated a kid who's going through psychological problems, and you wanted to date them because you were emotionally confused about how you felt about a minor. That's clear as day as what's happened here, and that's not acceptable. Zoey, I don't know much. I didn't get much into your situation. At this point, the best thing you can do is separate yourself from Kodo and go on your own adventure. And to the minors who are involved in this situation, especially with Kodo, y'all, I want y'all to know that this community has your back. We want to be here for y'all. And that I hope that y'all understand why it's not healthy to be around Kodo at this point. It's just not healthy for y'all. Please get away from Kodo. You do not need to be in contact with them anymore, even if they seem friendly with you. I don't want them to keep dragging different minors' names into this conversation. Kodo, you don't need to keep bringing minors into this conversation. So with that said, guys, this was a long video. I understand, but I had to get all this information out to y'all. This was a lot to cover, and I apologize. This is almost basically like a freaking full-on documentary with this. But anyways, guys, I don't know what to say beyond this point. It's just, this has been a lot. This has been a lot. And I felt necessary to talk about this because there was quite a bit of new information that I found out. And it made me sick a bit. It made me sick to just feel like keeping this private because I didn't want to. And I also was afraid that Kodo might like turn this against me, be like, oh, look, he's in the group chat, so he's part of this little ring too. He's to blame. It's always good to get your story out there first before someone else has, you know, the means of trying to get that story out there as well. Do I believe Kodo might have made this public? I don't know. If they wanted to blackmail me, potentially, yes. But I do have reason to believe that Kodo does not like me, and that they could have potentially done this. So I wanted to get my side out there. And I'm not trying to accuse them. I don't want to spread hate to them. I don't even want to do that. All I want you to do, Kodo, is to stop being in contact with a minor, period. That's all I am asking you here in this video. All I'm asking. I don't want any hate sent towards you. I'm not trying to ruin, like, anything for you. All I'm asking is for you to simply step away and get away from that minor. So that's it, guys. I'm going to end the video here. If there's anything I missed, I'll bring it up in the comment section. But I feel like I've talked a lot about this already, and I hope this is my last video I make on this, because I don't want to be making more videos on this. I'm really not that type of channel. I really hate even making this video, but it made me sick to my stomach knowing that I had this other information out and that I was not telling the public about the fact that Kodo's not going to leave this minor alone. And I have talked a little bit with this minor, I will admit, a minor in question, because I tried to tell him, like, look, you don't have to feel bad about this, okay? I didn't want to talk about the conversation with him because, you know, he doesn't need to be more in the mix of this drama. But I've just been trying to tell him, you're not in trouble, but I believe you need to stay away from Kodo. They didn't really want to listen to me, but I hope that eventually they will see that they should not be in contact with Kodo. Like, they'll eventually see that this situation's just brought nothing but pain, and that they just need to get out. Unfortunately, I don't think I was able to convince them, but again, don't try and message them, and don't try and, you know, do something here and there. All we can do is make the adult get out of this situation. We don't need to be pressuring the child to do anything else. So with that said, guys, I'm going to end the video here. I apologize for this being so long, but I hope that this was very informal. With that said, guys, I will see all of y'all in the next video or stream. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.